A lot of people get overwhelmed when trying to learn Blender, and I'm here to fix that partially. Of course, it's always going to be a little overwhelming, but this should help a lot. So you might see that my Blender looks a little bit different than most people's. I only have 3 tabs here, and one of them is just the view, just so I can look at the model. So I only really use 2 tabs, realistically. So you might be wondering, why do you only have 2 tabs? This seems weird. The other tabs must be for something, right? Now, I have made 2 whole games, 3 whole games actually, using Blender. They're all 3D games, and I've made more games before that, but Steam release games, so like proper games, right? And these are basically other features I use. I use this tab, and I pull this down, and I add a shader editor. If you've followed some Blender tutorials, you'll know what this is. So I don't actually use, that wasn't the right button. I don't actually use most features in Blender as a game developer. I use rendering incredibly occasionally, and I don't know how it, I mean, I know how it works, but I don't know everything about it. I just need to render a picture for my game once in a while, and that's simple enough that I can just do it from memory. No, okay. Edit that bit out. I don't use basically a model. I add a plane, I model stuff, and then after modeling stuff, I have an object. Then I need to texture that object and UV the object, and that's all I do. And most of the time I don't even texture it. I mostly just stick the UV on and then I texture it in Unity. So when you're learning Blender, you shouldn't be concerned about, for game development at least, you shouldn't be concerned about rendering, all the other tabs at the top there. Sculpting you don't really need at the start. I never sculpt, really, so personally. I don't even really know how to do it, which is fine because I've released 3 games by now. Well, 2 and 1 is almost coming out on the 20th, so maybe that's out already, I'm not sure, of November 2024, depending on when you're watching this, it might be out, I don't know. I've made 3 games. You don't need that much. That's the main thesis of this video. You just don't need that much Blender knowledge to make a game. Of course, getting hired at the game studio is a different thing, but for just like making a small game, don't need it much. So a quick list of the features I actually use. I use loop cuts, I use extruding, I use subdivision occasionally. Of course, I move around vertices and stuff. I use the shortcuts for that. And that's basically all I do. I use texturing. I weight paint when I need to animate. I don't animate in Blender, I animate in Unity, mostly procedurally, so it's pretty simple. I don't texture paint most of the time in Blender. I usually texture paint in GIMP or something. I just take a picture of the UVs and I just use that as my reference for where the UVs are. So it's not that, you don't need that much in Blender. And if you want to learn all the things you do actually use in Blender, I have a course on my YouTube channel. It's like 1.5 hours long. You can go watch that. It's very helpful. It should be somewhere linked in the description maybe. And if you want to learn even more than that, you can check out my community where we make games together for charity. Very cool. I'll be talking more about that later. But for now, just, you don't need to know that much. And if you want to learn all of that, check out that course. It's just basically everything you need to know to model like basic PS1 style ones, like models, or like slightly more complicated 3D stuff. You could also learn from that guide, but you'll need a little bit of tweaking to like the concepts, and then it's more focused on PS1 style stuff. But that's the best to learn at first anyway. So So as you can see, I've also hidden this little bar here. So usually there's a bar here full of tools. I've just hidden that by just dragging and clicking, going, moving it over there. You can set defaults, save startup file. I think that should that makes your current setup the default. So whenever you open Blender, you'll get that happening. You'll just open with that new layout. You can close the tabs by just right clicking and going delete, and then it's gone. And now I'm gonna have to restart Blender. There we go. As you can see, I'm using Blender 3.6, which is ancient, but it hasn't been a problem for me at all. I just haven't updated it because I don't care to, frankly. You don't need basically any of the new features. You don't need to keep up with Blender news. If you just want to make a game as like a solo dev or in a small team, you can just get away with this most of the time. If you want to make a game for charity and learn how to do Blender even better from other people, I recommend going over to my community. It's on Discord, and you can, it's probably in the link, a link in the description. I probably put a thingy in it for that in this video already, a little ad style thing. We make games for charity where all the money, like literally everything we make from those games goes to charity. And then And then I'm hoping that we can grow the community big enough that eventually I can donate, or we together can donate enough money to save like 100,000, a million, 10 million lives, something crazy like that. If we grow the community to be like a million people strong or something crazy like that. That's the long-term goal. I'm putting all my effort and life into that, so hopefully I can do that. But for now, I'm just putting all my effort into teaching you how to model things in Blender, so you can model things for the games, and then we can make the game better together. So if you want to learn super fast and get like one-on-one feedback, have literally work on a game with me that will be released on Steam, be in the credits, go join there. It's pretty cool. Another small thing that I use a lot when modeling in Blender is I use fundamentals, and I teach those in the course that's on YouTube here. So basically, I don't follow a tutorial on how to model a horse. I just look. I mean, I've learned all this stuff already, so I don't really need to watch tutorials anymore. But I remember like the core ideas behind modeling a horse, and then I model anything based on that, basically. So that's something I highly recommend. I teach those fundamental things in the course that I made. So check that out. It took like 20 hours probably to make that 1.5 hour video, maybe more than 20 hours, some insane amount. Spent way too much time on that. But hopefully I'm very helpful for you. So yeah, now check that out, and I'll see you in the next video. And subscribe and like and stuff. So you'll see more cool Blender videos and other game development stuff on this channel. Right, goodbye.